especially in America, you'd be surprised at how little people, especially doctors and plumbers, know about water.
Thanks for listening to Guidance in Recovery. I'm Keegan Reed, and every week I speak with guests to honestly explore recovery, sobriety, the struggles that come with it, and find things that help us in our recovery journeys. Today's guest used to tap dance on Broadway. She holds a Guinness World Record, and she overcame a 2-year paralyzing health crisis. She has mastered 8 ancient sciences, and she's now a master healer, trauma-informed educator, and the author of the Transcending Victim to Goddess series. Heather Ann Ferri is also a fierce advocate for the biological and spiritual power of water. Listen in for some ways that water does more than hydrate. You said that if we don't have proper water filtration, that our body becomes the filter. So can you tell me, like, how did you figure that out, and what exactly is it that you do with water?
Wow, you jumped right into that section, because we're mostly made of water. And, you know, when I was performing 10 years in show business in New York City, I didn't drink much water. I was a trauma person, sugar addict, running around, barely slept, you know, auditioning all the time, tapping in the clubs with the masters. That was spiritual. That was healing. But there wasn't much water. In fact, I remember the first nutrition class I took in New York City. You know, you have to list everything every day for like weeks, and then they look at it and then they analyze it, and they were like, well, what do you drink? Like, I didn't drink anything except for Mountain Dew. I loved Mountain Dew because Mountain Dew is like sugar all day long. And they were like, well, where's the water? And I came from Point Park University. You know, I studied dance. I got a partial scholarship. Even in our nutrition classes, we were still not really taught any of the importance of water. So I have to say it was roughly, I was around 38 years old. I had come back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to sort of deal with my family and why I ran away in the first place. And as my body was starting to shut down, there was, you know, I'm meditating, I'm talking to what I call God, you know, and I'm just trying to battle it out. Why is everybody sick? Why is all this stuff going on? And I got the message, the water is bad. And then a week later, I got a client who started to educate me on water. Well, it's been 15 years later. And honestly, I'd love to do sort of a film on my journey. If anybody's out there and creative and wants to produce it, I've got the stories, like literally the stories. But I'm a little bit of the healer, modern version of Erin Brockovich, in the sense that, especially in America, you'd be surprised at how little people, especially doctors and plumbers, know about water. I mean, or water filters, you know, in that sense. So when I started to change and learn about filtration and then learn about medical devices from Japan, I started to drink a different type of water. And that started to allow me to actually unravel the frozenness I had, because I came from childhood abuse, severe childhood abuse, where I was almost murdered by my mom with her own hands. And so, you know, there were a lot of my body was frozen.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was actually over medicated from age 10 to 16 from Western medicine, so I didn't trust that. And so the concept that water could actually do some healing things was like, nobody's talking about that, you know? And as I was drinking this particular type of water, whether it's clean water or electrolyzed reduced water, 2 systems I work with, I started to cry. And then I started to cry more, which is a release, you know, your tears, the memories, your body's starting to unravel in a different way. And then I had a 15-year career in private trauma practice where I started to utilize sciences and throw some away. And I had a lot of therapists and doctors and scientists come to me. So I was like, sort of like this mad scientist, you know. That's kind of like the creative arts, to be honest with you, because I, you know, was writing shows at the end of my career and off Broadway. So it's honestly, it's very similar. Well, you can really bridge them. I just started to see that when people got on a better type of water, that it was easier for them to heal. It was easier for them to absorb supplements. It was easier for them to cry. Crying was the biggest thing. People had a lot more crying to do, you know, in our society. And it's a healthy thing. And I think, I don't know what kind of family you grew up in. I know a lot of my clients, their family system doesn't really like, you can't cry. You know what I mean?
Allow
Like,
for it.
yeah, it's uncomfortable. And that uncomfortableness makes us stiff. You know, it makes us stiff. So that's a little bit of the venture of, yeah, if you don't have a filter in America, we have 80 plus contaminants. That's just a fact. We actually have 3 parasites which link into sugar addictions.
Huh.
Because when you're detoxing on the physical level of sugar, because you have to detox emotionally too and psychologically, there is a physical component to this of why people can be addicted to sugar because they may have a parasite in them that's going, hey, feed me. And it cuts through so we have 3 parasites in our water right now. And so you really want to be particular. And I don't want to sound salesy, but you just do after 15 years when people email me and they go, well, I have this water filter. And I go, okay, where's the third party certifications on that? Oh, you drink that? Oh, do you know there's a lawsuit in Vegas happening right now on that bottled water? Oh, I just have a lot of information the average person wouldn't. So if they're interested in upgrading, they can contact me about that because I have an free ebook on my website, Heather Ann Ferri. It was the first healing tool of 8 sciences, that I use. But yeah, that's a little bit on the water. So now I drink lots of water and I'm dancing again. So I'm not tap dancing, but I am dancing again.
Okay.
It's fun, as the release, and my body's able to do a lot more. Tap dancing's it's hard on the body.
Yeah. I can only imagine how hard it is on the body. And I mean, that would have been one of those things too, that like you had to train to get to the level where you were, and then having it stripped away from you because of your health, that would have really sucked. And I can only imagine how much you've actually had to rebuild yourself and everything like that, because what exactly was the health crisis that you went through? And was it caused because you were addicted to sugar in a sense?
No, I think so. The root of sugar, which when I work with women, I work with a lot more women than men in general. I mean, I work with some male CIOs. The kitchen is an interesting subject matter, your relationship in the kitchen, how you feel. We always go back to the childhood. And so my childhood story starts in the kitchen in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different memories. And some of those examples were when I was 8 years old, there had already been a lot of different problems in the family system with my parents. My dad lost his job, and then that caused a lot of financial and aggravation between the two of them. But my mom, when everybody was gone in the morning and I was getting ready for school, my mom would come in and attack me from behind, screaming and almost choke me to death. And this became sort of a Groundhog Day thing.
Wow.
So as a little girl, right away, you're getting brain damage. You're learning that there must be something wrong with you. What do I do? What do I need to do to stay safe in a house that isn't safe anymore? Because your mom is supposed to be your nurturer. But I'd walk down the stairs to try to rush out the door, and I would see her at the kitchen table eating chocolate cake. Like my mom would buy a birthday cake on a regular basis and eat the whole thing in a setting.
Wow. Huh.
So when I say we're sugar addicts, I mean we're sugar addicts. Like I was eating sugar 24/7. This was her numbing. And so as a child, I learned, okay, this is how we cope, because we're not allowed to cry.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to play, in essence. We're not allowed to be, so she was very much a dictator in my household. She scared me. I couldn't just go in the kitchen, open the refrigerator, and eat what I wanted to eat. She was controlling. And I describe it later on and in my journey as a slave owner and a slave, because I would learn as I'm healing ancestral that my maternal bloodline, my grandmother, her mother died during childbirth. Father was nowhere around. And I start to unravel, the Black women lineage of slave women on sugar plantations, you know, when you think of sugar plantations, and start to have rashes and things come up and memories, and realizing the sugar addiction for a lot of Black women or Blacks and Indigenous people is very rooted to that. When I also am very much deeply connected to Harriet Tubman. And, you know, when you think of her story and the fact that she's this slave girl that wants to try the sugar, and then all the beatings and the turmoil as a slave, we think that sugar's a special treat because of the way it came into the culture, but sugar is actually cancer. You know, we know that now, and it's in so much of our products that it's hard not to be addicted to it. And a lot of people actually don't know it's kind of running the show, you know, which is really, it's like a really, you know, wild. But so for me, when I was in my late 30s, and it became clear that I had emotional problems, relationship problems, and I started to go inside and meditate. I started to do energy work, that my body started to shut down, which unfortunately happens when you come from severe abuses. And so that's when my body started to shut down. I went to Western medicine, obviously went to physical therapy for 6 months. They did not have solutions. They made things worse because that system does not have the sciences I work with when people come. So I have had to learn a lot of sciences and use them as a dance, which I wish there was a trauma center with them. But we live in sort of a political challenging time with money and how things are used and who gets to do what. You know, I talk about that. But what I've learned is that, you know, so that's when, like, so it was scary when you talk. I mean, I was really scared. I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of stroke-like symptoms. And I ended up being underground. Like, people would come to me with massive strokes that had medical degrees that would have been sort of disabled the rest of their lives. And through a 1.5 to 2 year process, they were 95% better.
Oh, wow.
And that's through these Eastern sciences and the water, definitely. Like, to see somebody have tremors all day, like and then drink a medical grade water, and 6 weeks later, no tremors. Like, that's where the scientists came in for me. And I started to go, and my creative arts came in a lot within this work, because it's heavy work. It's dark work, and nobody wants to do it. That's why you're an addict, right? That you don't want to actually go to that pain. But I guess what I want to share with the audience is, if you can work with an expert, somebody that's kind of walk the walk, and really get the toolkit, you can get through that pain a lot faster than you realize. And the other side is so much better. Like, my body, my state of mind, like the way I feel about myself is so much better. But staying in the loop of the addiction is not the way that I wanted to live. You know, people think of cocaine and all these other drugs as hard, but sugar's a hardcore drug too. It's kind of like cocaine in the frontal cortex of the brain, because you're trying not to remember anything. You know, when you eat a pie, you're like, I want to numb out. Because I don't want to remember how this feels. So yeah, going from world record and my body being strong to it falling apart was really an ego death.
Yeah.
Major ego death. I've had many of them. And they're important, to be honest with you. You want a teacher, a healer, an educator that's kind of been through the ropes, so that they can really give you tools so that you can move forward, as opposed to, I think we've had in society in America, too many people on platforms that kind of talk something that doesn't actually show the stats. They're just kind of like on a stage, like, okay, but what are the actual practical tools to heal this, to work through this? And so that's where I think my blue collar roots come from. You know, growing up in the Pittsburgh city, you know, we want to see some results.
Yeah.
Show me the results.
Yeah. Yeah, and sugar is one of those things that is vastly misunderstood in a lot of senses, and especially over here in America, sugar does run the world in a lot of different ways. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the things that are legal and sold over here in the US, like snacks and drinks like Mountain Dew, over in the UK, they're actually banned and illegal because it's so filled with sugar and other things that are actually really bad for us. So one of the first things I have to ask, though, is medical grade water, isn't that just bottled water?
No.
No.
So when you have, and I want to be politically correct, I'm not representing any companies here. I have to kind of put that disclaimer in,
Okay.
just for both of us, but I'll go down that road. So when you have water in containers
Mm-hmm.
that aren't glass
Mm-hmm.
or stainless steel,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have microplastic issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that microplastic is becoming a huge issue, not just with land and soil,
Mm-mm.
how we grow our food, or the oceans,
Mm-hmm.
but we're finding it in the body more and more. Like, for instance, dementia. Like, I worked as an independent contractor in senior homes for 8 years with Alzheimer's and dementia. Dementia has increased 10% now more, and they're finding microplastics in the brain.
Wow.
So you do, in my opinion, you do have to have a water filter at home, and you have to fill up everything in glass or stainless steel. The question is, what is the water filter you're going to purchase? My thing is I would go with someone, I'm going to be like me, who's been in the healing arts, who has the story. You can see the pictures on my website. You can read the ebook. You can ask questions, but I wouldn't go on a website that looks like, oh, we do this, this, and this. And they're lying because you don't know how to research third-party certifications.
Mm.
I'm an educator. I taught in 3 universities. So I'll be happy to educate anybody, but I find that the average American's overwhelmed. And the problem is we have 20,000 companies selling water filtration systems,
Wow.
and very few of them take out forever chemicals.
Huh. Okay.
Forever chemicals are not easy to detox out of the body, and forever chemicals are what causes all different types of cancers.
Mm-hmm.
So medical grade water. So I have a filter under my sink,
Mm-hmm.
and it creates what I would call the cleanest water possible. Very cost effective, by the way. It's actually one of the most cost effective things for the American family. The shower unit's $90, very different than like the commercial stores you would go into. You know what I mean? And the under the counter is roughly $800. We're going to just put the numbers out there. These are basic things that get you in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The medical device that I've used for 15 years is from Japan.
Okay.
Japan's hospitals are number 1 in general with healthcare, wound care, and longevity.
Mm-hmm.
They also treat their land sacredly. So they have ionized like healing water
Mm-hmm.
that you can go and soak in, and like your skin starts to change and everything starts to change. Well, we used to have this here in the state of PA. We used to have healing waters, and there's a whole, that would probably be another show if you ever want to do it. We can. It's a whole documentary on, well, who destroyed those healing waters in 1700? Then they started bottling the water and selling the water. And this became the movement of, we're going to take the pure nutrients from the land. We're going to steal it from the original people. We're going to murder them. And then we're going to have our fancy resorts where everyone all over the world can come to Pennsylvania. And nobody's going to really question it. And now we're in a place where water fountains are foreign.
Mm-hmm.
And now even with water fountains, we need a filter, unfortunately, right now. So my goal isn't just working with the consumer, just so you know. I'm trying to work with plumbers, companies to get rid of using so much plastic water bottles, because we can't. The numbers are out of control.
Mm-hmm.
To also help families have the right thing in their homes so that they can drink this with their vitamins or their superfoods and actually absorb it and not be absorbing, prescription drugs or forever chemicals or parasites. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard because we're not having our leaders talk about this. This is swept under the rug, but we have so much distraction.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, I want to say to the person out there is if you hear something very popular on every channel, question it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say. It's just because the companies that I work for, 53 years in the United States for the clean water, over 65 years in Japan, and that's a medical device under their FDA. Our FDA won't look at it.
Wow.
Even though a lot of the movie stars own them, but they're not actually using them right. So I teach my consumer how to use them. I have ebooks that you can use different types of water. Like, for instance, 2.5 electrolyzed reduced water. If you did PubMed research on it, which I show people, kills AIDS, E. coli. Like, if, say you have strep throat, you take a teaspoon, you gargle, it's dead within 7 minutes.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah. So we need more people. Like I say, we need more men to do the plumbing aspects because that tends to be a little bit more of their thing. And we need women to be more of the educators on, especially on the Japanese device, how to use these different waters. I have a great team, but I find that the mothers in America are doing both right now, and it's too much. It's too much, you know. It's like we need more men involved in this subject matter because water is the foundation.
Yeah.
We're mostly made of water, and there's just too much out there that's not, like, even what I love about the clean water company Multi-Pure, I can mention their name, is they do a free education class every month with their water specialist. You can go, you can ask questions. They update on what's going on in America, how they're trying to push regulations. So it's not like a regular, like, this company is about movement. You know, they've been around 53 years. They're not going anywhere. And they've been the one to push in regards to forever chemicals and certifications, which is so, and people, I have to say this, you can go on a website and they can word it a certain way that makes it sound like they're taking it out when they're not.
Oof. Okay.
Isn't that scary? Yeah. But you don't know what you don't know. And so all I say is if you're interested in upgrading or wanting to change, just contact me and you can just tell me what you have and I can tell you pretty quickly what's going on. I've done that in many businesses, you know, or people just look and they go, okay, I'm going to upgrade this. But it's scary because there's no regulations on websites.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If you really think about it. So if you don't understand that they can just add 2 words, it makes it sound like it takes it out. And then you're like, well, where's this? You have to go to the certification page. You have to go to the website that actually shows the third-party certifications for these things. And that's where the consumer can get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, being overwhelmed is one of those things that the powers that be ruling the U.S. definitely don't want us to not be, because if we're so stressed and just underneath a lot of pressure that we don't know how to deal with, then we can't do anything to better ourselves, you know? And I'm one of those believers that the Western healthcare system is completely broken and can definitely need a huge revamp. And I mean, that's its own conversation as well. But whenever it comes to like your sugar addiction and stuff, how did you start getting out of that? Was it because of the water that you really started to see a difference?
Well, the water was the first game changer because it started to allow me to cry.
Yeah. Okay.
And through that crying, I could go inside more and start to go, well, why am I feeling this way about what happened with my dad in this situation or what happened with this person? And then I could write and then I could cry and release because I had so much emotional pain. You know, it's interesting. I would say 80% of my prior clients were women, and you would be shocked at how much they needed to cry over things, not just addictions, but just cry, and how it's just not something our culture. I mean, think about the workplace. Somebody dies and the next day you have to go back to work. So we're just not very caring anymore. But I also have to say that I've had male CEOs cry. They don't cry as much, but they needed to cry.
Yeah. Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you can still be a guy and have to shed some tears a little bit here about stuff. But yeah, I think that was the first initial. And then I work with brain protocols, PTSD, ADHD, childhood brain protocols that actually do have PubMed research and nobody's using them in the United States.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. Isn't that sad? And they're different from like tapping or EMDR. And I think they're a game changer because it requires somebody to sit with themselves and learn different meditations, like different finger placements, different sounds. You know, they're not like English words, they're universal sounds. And breath patterns, because breath patterns have a lot to do with traumas, and addiction is definitely rooted to some sort of trauma, whether it's generationally passed down. But what I found with the brain protocols is magic happens because it teaches somebody, if you've never been a professional dancer, then you start to train to be a professional healer for yourself. Where I'm just guiding you and I'm saying, okay, do that meditation for 11 minutes or do that for 8 minutes or make sure your breath is, I'm just the guide, but you're actually learning to retrain not just your brain, but understand I have a pain in my shoulder. Okay, put your hand there. What's that about? Okay, you're breathing. Oh, actually, it's this memory. Well, it's a stupid memory. Well, no, it's not. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Those things write it. I want you to write in your journal now. And so what I found, especially with the childhood brain protocol, is it helps people heal the deeper roots to their addictions. And it also activates more of their authentic self. So they either have career changes or partner changes, or they just start tapping into like, I want to play the guitar now, you know, and it's a side hobby, or I want to, like for me now, I'm working on my singing after all, you know, that's something I enjoy doing because I wasn't allowed to have a voice, you know, I wasn't allowed through that journey. So I love the brain protocols because people can go back to their notebook. Like if you get in a car accident, first thing I say is get on the water, drink that water, a gallon a day, and do your PTSD brain protocol.
Wow.
And now you've got your toolkit at home. You don't have to go to me. You don't have to, you know, and so they have a toolkit, but it's different than relying on somebody else. And it's also more engaging. Like when you think of a professional dancer in tap dancing, yeah, I have to learn these patterns. But when I got on stage with Jimmy Slide and Gregory Hines, eventually I had to go, okay, who am I and how am I going to work these patterns to be my own?
Yeah.
And as an advanced healer, that's what I'm doing in the classrooms with people is I'm giving them toolkits and guiding them to then be able to be their healers and help their sort of environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.